Life before HDK felt like a long road walked in silence. Days passed, routines repeated themselves, and even though we lived under the same roof, it often felt like my husband and I were standing on opposite ends of the same room. There was no loud conflict, no dramatic arguments, just a quiet distance that slowly settled between us. I used to believe that love only fades when something terrible happens, but I learned that sometimes it fades simply because life becomes heavy and people stop talking from the heart. We were married with simple dreams. Like many couples, we imagined growing together, supporting each other, and facing the world as a team. In the beginning, everything felt light. Small conversations mattered, shared smiles carried meaning, and even silence felt comfortable. But as responsibilities grew, as work pressures increased, and as expectations from family and society piled up, something shifted. He became more serious, more withdrawn, and less expressive. I became more patient, more quiet, and more hopeful that things would improve on their own. I often asked myself if love was supposed to feel like this after marriage. Was this calm distance normal, or was it a warning I was ignoring? I tried to be understanding. He worked hard, he cared in his own way, and he never failed in his duties. Yet something essential was missing. Emotional warmth does not shout for attention, but when it disappears, the heart notices immediately. Nights became longer, thoughts became heavier, and I started feeling lonely even when he was right beside me. Then HDK entered our lives, not as a dramatic event, but as a subtle change. At first, I didn't even notice it clearly. It started with small differences. His tone softened. He began listening more carefully. He asked about my day, not out of habit, but with genuine interest. I remember one evening when he sat beside me and spoke about his worries, something he had not done in a long time. That moment felt unfamiliar, yet comforting, like hearing a forgotten melody. With HDK, my husband changed. He became more present, more aware of emotions, both mine and his own. He started acknowledging the silent efforts I made every day. A simple thank you from him felt heavier than 1,000 words because it carried recognition. Our home felt warmer, not because anything physical changed, but because emotional understanding slowly returned. I began to believe that perhaps this was the turning point we needed. But change, even positive change, brings its own questions. I found myself wondering why it took HDK for him to see me clearly. Why did it require an external influence for him to reconnect with the person he promised to walk beside forever? These thoughts did not erase my happiness, but they added layers of confusion. Love, after all, is not just about feeling good. It is also about feeling secure. As weeks passed, our conversations deepened. We spoke about dreams we had buried under responsibilities. We spoke about fears we never voiced. For the first time in a long while, we were not just sharing a house, but sharing our inner worlds. I realized that my husband had not become distant because he stopped caring. He became distant because he forgot how to express what he carried inside. HDK seemed to unlock a door he had unknowingly closed. Yet, there was still a quiet but in my heart. Change is beautiful, but trust grows slowly. I needed to understand whether this change was lasting or temporary. I needed to know if this new version of him would remain when life became difficult again. Love cannot survive on moments alone. It needs consistency. I watched closely, not with suspicion, but with cautious hope. One evening, during a power outage, we sat in near darkness, the room lit only by a faint glow from outside. He spoke about his childhood, about the expectations placed on him, about how he learned early to stay strong by staying silent. That night, I understood him more than ever before. His distance was not rejection, it was protection. HDK did not change who he was. It helped him uncover who he had always been. I also learned something about myself. I realized how much I had held back, how often I chose silence over honesty to avoid discomfort. Love requires courage from both sides. As he learned to open up, I learned to speak my truth gently but clearly. Our relationship was not being rebuilt by grand gestures, but by small, consistent efforts that slowly restored balance. Still, I reminded myself that love is not magic. It does not fix everything overnight. There were days when old habits returned, when misunderstandings resurfaced, and when frustration tried to creep back in. But the difference now was awareness. We no longer ignored the cracks, we acknowledged them and worked through them together. HDK was not a solution, it was a beginning. With time, I stopped focusing on how he changed and started appreciating how we changed together. Marriage is not about perfection, it is about growth. Sometimes growth comes from within, and sometimes it needs a gentle push. What mattered most was not the reason behind the change, but the commitment to continue moving forward. The but in my heart slowly softened. It did not disappear completely, because questions are a natural part of love, but it no longer controlled my emotions. Instead, it reminded me to stay mindful, to communicate, and to never take emotional connection for granted. Love is not something you secure once and forget, it is something you choose every day. Today, when I look at my husband, I see the same person I married, yet also someone wiser and more emotionally present. HDK did not replace our bond. It strengthened it by helping us understand what we were missing. Our story did not transform into a fairy tale, but it became real, grounded, and honest. And sometimes, that is more beautiful than perfection. With HDK, my husband changed, but more importantly, our relationship evolved. Not because of one factor alone, but because we both decided to listen, to learn, and to stay. Love did not return as a sudden rush, it returned as a steady presence. And in that quiet, consistent presence, I found peace, hope, and a deeper understanding of what partnership truly means.